Hi, I'm Bart Hanson. I'm the owner and lead instructor for CrushLivePoker.com. The following hand comes from our call-in show that we record at 4:45 p.m. Pacific Time every Monday. If you want to call in your hand, check out the instructions in the video description.
136 Dallas Straddle.
136 Dallas Straddle, which means that, what, the button has absolute last action or something?
Yep.
Okay.
Button has ultimate last action. That didn't really come into play on this hand, though.
Okay.
But yeah, after the small blind, big blind bet. So heroes in the big blind.
Okay.
Under the gun +1 opens to 15.
How deep are you guys?
950 effective.
950 effective. Okay.
950 effective.
Okay.
Villain covers the hero.
Okay.
So under the gun +1 opens to 15.
Okay.
Cutoff calls.
Okay.
Everyone else folds to the hero in the big blind with ace of hearts, ace of spades.
Okay.
And I make it 65.
So you make it 65 as a 3-bet, which is a little bit on the smaller side here. You're not super deep here at 136, but the open size, though, doesn't really seem very large, though. I mean, usually live players are opening to like 4x here to 15. Is that kind of a small open at 136 or what?
That's about the normal 3-bet I've been doing.
No, the open, the straight open.
The open. Oh, yeah, that's a small open.
Okay, that's what I figured. Yeah.
Sorry about that. Yeah. Most opens, when I open, I usually, if I'm under the gun, I'm opening to 18.
Okay, right.
At least.
Yeah, that's
and
kind
then
of sounds
adding
small.
3 per limper. So, like, usually, it ends up being 21, 24, what you're opening with. So, yeah, it was a small open.
I mean, I might have made
And
it like 75 or something like that, but okay, so you make it 65.
Yep.
Okay.
Both of them call. Under the gun and cutoff call, the button folds.
Okay.
So we go to the flop, and it's the Jack of Hearts, 9 of Hearts, and the 8 of Hearts. And I decide, here's where I have really the first.
Wait a minute, just hold on for a second. So under the gun to 15 cutoff calls and the button also called too?
No, button folded.
Oh, because the button's last, he
call.
gets to. Oh, because he goes around. My bad. Okay, I was gonna say then that's really small.
Yeah.
If that, I got you. I understand because the whole thing. All right, so the flop comes out: Jack of Hearts, 9 of Hearts, 8 of Hearts, and you've got aces with the Ace of Hearts, right?
Yes.
Okay. These are interesting spots here. Especially when you have the Ace of Hearts in your hand. I mean, I know you emailed this in, and I don't really remember what happened, but it's good enough for the show. And I wouldn't even hate a check here all that much. When you think about people's ranges and stuff for calling 3-bets, I mean, yeah, you've got like a boatload of equity, but sometimes you can check these boards that are sort of middling, monotone when you have aces with the stiff flush draw.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking going back over it. And some people that I've talked to, like about half of them said that I actually led for 100. Some of them said like, yeah, I like the lead, and then about half of them said I'd rather check this back because I got so much equity with the Ace of Hearts.
Well, I mean, yeah, just not to confuse people. Usually when I talk about checking back, I'm talking about checking in position. You mean you're just gonna, you're in the big blind, so you just check from up front.
Yeah.
And this sort of reminds me of a hand I played against Mike Ross and Alec Torelli, I think, or somebody in between where I had aces in the blind. It wasn't Jack 9-8, but it was all monotone, and Ross had flopped the flush at, I want to say Turning Stone or something like that. I mean, listen, betting, it can't be that bad, obviously, and it depends on how wide these guys play, but I could certainly see the merits for checking. But okay, you bet 100.
Yep. Under the gun folds,
Okay.
and the cutoff raises to 300. And I figure, he's a middle-aged white guy. He's not like a super tight, but he's mostly been fairly tight. So I figured I'm kind of behind. But obviously, I'm not laying down the Ace of Hearts on this board.
No, of course not.
Yeah. Okay, so I called.
Yeah.
Would you call there, or
I would.
Is there any?
I would, because here's the
reason
thing.
there?
I mean, one of the things that people don't quite understand, and you get to learn this actually in PLO from some similar equities too, is that even if the guy's up against the set, you're like, oh, I've got 9 hard outs and 11, 2 more outs with the set, 11 outs. You're still like 30. You're still a 2-to-1 dog against a set with an overpair and a flush draw. The only hand that you've got really decent equity against is 2-pair, right? Like a hand like Jack 9 or 8-9. But there are a lot of other hands. If you flop the flush, you don't have much equity. But yeah, I'm certainly gonna call for sure.
Yeah. And then would you ever jam this on this, or is that just a call is the only move here?
I don't really see the point in jamming here because I just don't really know, especially when you have the Ace of Hearts, like what hands are going to raise fold here. You know what I mean? It's almost like a way ahead, way behind situation where you're behind a ton. Like if somebody's, and usually no one's going to raise here like in a spot like this to like find out where they're at with like, ace jack of spades or something like that. I mean, is a guy going to raise here with king jack with the king of hearts once in a great while? I mean, maybe, but I don't think he's going to go buck wild with that. I just feel like this raise has you beat quite a bit, and there's no fold equity. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you raising for as a semi bluff? And if you're not folding out any better hands, then what's the point of making a semi bluff? You know?
Yeah, yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
So obviously I just called it.
Yep.
So the turn is, I just called his bet.
Okay.
The turn was the 7 of spades.
Okay.
Which I did not think was good for me. And I checked.
I mean, I don't really think it has any relevance besides the fact that you don't obviously hit a heart. Now the pot, it looks like it's about about 800, and you've got maybe like what 600 left, somewhere around there.
800. Yeah. I had about 550 behind.
Okay.
So I check,
mm-hmm.
and the villain bets 300.
So if you call, you only have 250 left, basically. Is that what you're saying?
Right.
So he raised to 300, and now he's betting 300 on the turn, and if you call, you only have 250 left, right?
Yes.
So was it 3, 6, 3, 6, 8, 11, 14? I mean, you can't just call, because if you call, the pot's going to be, you put in 6 on the flop, 5 pre, and 200 pre, 800, 11, 14. Yeah, the pot's going to be 14 if you call and you have 250 left. So this is a spot different from the other call where it's just going to be a jam or a fold. I mean,
yeah.
As nitty as it sounds, obviously, I don't know how this game is playing. So, if this game is an outlier where people are doing crazy shit and this guy's like a donk, maybe you occasionally check raise all in, but I think at most games at this level, I don't think that you're going to have the equity. I mean, in a spot like this, I just treat this bet as an all in, basically. You know what I mean? I mean, the pot, like I said, it's 800, so it's almost like he's betting 550 into 800 all in. So it's like 1350, 550 for you to call. So you're getting 2.5 to 1. You need probably somewhere in the high 20s for equity, right? 2 to 1's 33. 3 to 1's 25, so you need like 28%. And you probably aren't even 28% against like bottom flop 2 with 1 out. That's probably very close. I wouldn't surprise me with 1 card to come that you're not 28% here against 9-8. I mean, you've got 9 hard outs and then another 2 aces, so that would be 11, 3 and 3. You'd have like 17 outs with 1 card to come. It would be awfully close. You might have it specifically against 2 pair, but I think against the range you probably don't.
Yeah, I ended up doing the worst of the 3 probably, which I just called. In my thought process at the time, I'm not saying this is right, but my thought process at the time was basically like, if it's a heart, I can jam it. He's definitely going to call. If it's not a heart, I can just check it and decide what to do there, which I'm probably behind.
But the pot's going to be like 1,400, 250 for you to call, or you're going to check fold the river. You know what I mean? Like that's.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. I mean, I would have called the river, and it ended up going check. It was a jack of diamonds, and we went check, and he turned over the pocket tens with the 10 of hearts. So yeah, looking back,
I mean, that's interesting. That's an open-ended straight flush draw. You know what I mean? It's an open-ended straight flush draw. But he's got a straight, right? So you're beat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm beat.
Yeah, so the 7, I mean the 7, I had said back on the flop, the 7 doesn't really change anything. I mean, it puts out a one-liner to a 10. If he had raised the flop with 10s with the 10 of hearts, obviously, then it gets there. So it does change a little bit, but I would probably have just check folded, obviously, and you don't have the equity, So I think I probably would have check folded the turn.
The other thing is, too, that the 10 of hearts is probably the only I mean, I guess he's probably staying in there with any tens, any pocket tens, but he couldn't really have like Jack of Hearts, 10 of Hearts, like
No,
playing that
yeah,
frequently.
because he'd have to have Jack 10 off to make the call and then the three bet, which is maybe possible. And I don't know if he's raising like 10-10 without a heart, but that's pretty cool. That's a nice little call. I appreciate it. Hey guys, if you like what you've seen here, please click on the subscribe button and you'll get notified every time we put up a new video. And if you want to check out crushlivepoker.com for the first month free, use the code YTA200. Click on the link right there.